what I'm talking about.
Wait! Okay, now, from the beginning.
Hit it, boys.
Welcome to a special edition of Higher Ed Pulse. I'm your host, Mallory Wilsey, and we're live at the 2024 AMA Symposium for the Marketing of Higher Education, bringing you conversations directly from the floor with thought leaders, innovators, and industry changemakers. Let's dive in and check the pulse of what's happening right here at the symposium. All right, we're back live at AMA, and I am sitting across from Bob Rafferty from Simpson Scarborough. He's a partner in EVP, and we are just at the beginning of this conference. The Vegas vibes are real. You can start to really feel the energy here at AMA as people are arriving. So Bob, I'm curious to hear, because this is not your first AMA rodeo by any means. What are you most looking forward to this week?
Yeah, I think that the conversations this week are going to be really interesting just with the evolution of where higher education is right now. I think some of the way the landscape has shifted even within the last week or two, and some of the conversations that people will be having around where the industry is going from a funding perspective and some other aspects of that, I think will be something unique about this year and this moment. I'm always interested in, where is the technology side going of marketing? And I think as we get into this conversation further, we'll be able to talk a little more about that.
Oh, we absolutely will, because my prediction is no one's going to leave Vegas without hearing the words artificial intelligence. I think that's going to be a really critical piece of the conversation at the conference this week if some of the other recent national conferences that I've been to have been any indicator. So let's actually dive in on that. And I know you're a .edu website expert here. So let's talk about the future role of the website, but in this now AI-powered world. Where do you want to start?
I think the natural place to start there is with search. I think when we think about what generative search is and where large language models are starting to evolve the user experience, we're incredibly early, right? I think that most people are thinking about, when they even hear the words AI, they think about what their current interaction is, and that's all very based in what the prompt is that they're trying to enter to break down some level of information that they might be seeking. But I think as we get further along in that journey, that's just one piece where we need to be thinking about how that evolves user experience, but then also how that might impact what user interface looks like. If we really kind of want to unpack the evolution of user interface in higher ed websites, it's been an evolution over the last 15 to 20 years. But when you get kind of to this moment in time, I feel like we're ready for like what that revolution looks like, and that it's not just going to be a step forward of everyone kind of doing the same as we've done for so long.
Having worked at an agency as well, you look at the landscape of .edus and, in a lot of ways you can slap any institution's logo on it and, the taglines all sound the same. There's still the drone videos that are being shown. And, I just on a recent Pulse episode, made the statement that I think maybe there's a future where you land on that institution's homepage and you're greeted with a search box similar to going to Google. And because AI has been just powered into the website, maybe we're going to stop actually asking our website visitors to search the web and have them actually just interact like we're talking right now with the website more conversationally to find information. Curious to get your reaction to that.
Yeah, I do think that is going to be a reality, and that the information seeking and the way that anybody is interacting with any product or consumer experience is not going to be about trying to parse their own information and scan through that to find what they're looking for, but will be that generative experience, which I think then leaves room for more interaction then, right? So when we think about higher ed in general, right, there's a huge lifestyle component to that. When students are going to college, as much as, do you have my major and will I fit in here? Am I able to afford it? Some of those main questions that they're asking themselves. Once you get beyond that, then it's what is actually here for me, right? And what will my experience be like? And I think that the amount of wayfinding that's built into our web experiences that gets in the way of actually understanding, is this the place I want to be for the next 4 years? Is this somewhere that I want to eat and sleep and do all of those other kind of personal moments? There's an opportunity in that to refine what the EDU experience looks like towards one that is not behind an information barrier and gets more at that interactive media sense.
So that means our content management systems are going to have to evolve pretty rapidly in order to support this vision of the future of the .edu that you've articulated. What are you seeing in the space right now?
Yeah, I think what we're seeing in the space right now is actually, just to be honest, a lot of the same, right? I think that in the next year, those universities who are willing to be on the leading edge will start to evolve what their websites look like, right? And feel like when we get really specific about what's happening in the CMS, I think that the tools are just now emerging in terms of being applicable for a marketing team, let's say, to think about what is it that their authors need most, right? If like we think about some of the biggest challenges that a marketing team has who might be overseeing content that's distributed across the entire university enterprise, some issues that are there are always based around what can the CS do for something as basic as uploading an image? Can it fit the crop size, right? This seems like such a small potatoes type thing, but when you think about AI's impact on that, being able to zoom out and expand an image and actually get the perfect size for that author is something that you no longer have to work around, or you have to even train authors on. The tool itself will take care of it. Another example, I think, is when we think about what search engine optimization looks like. There's a lot of developing of content that has to be done with a level of subject matter expertise, and I don't think that goes away as much as is augmented and informed by how AI might be built into that CMS experience for the author to know what the keywords are that they're looking for, to be able to write a headline that's already optimized, or be able to build a caption that's already there for accessibility reasons. I think that those are some of the early pieces that we know as partners for marketing teams who have to manage the stack, that those are the simple solutions that'll be there. And what that does, I think, is gets into then opening up of time, right? So being able to have a marketing team that's not focused on what those micro technology challenges are, but can actually be thinking about content. I think that that's a really interesting space. I think that where AI can help marketing teams develop content that may have been out of reach before. I'm sure you've seen some of like Notebook LM that can create a podcast-like piece of content that a marketing team may have been out of reach in the past to be able to produce on their own. There's going to be advances in video and photography and all sorts of more rich media that I really think will transform, again, like what that deep experience side of the website can be for a marketing team. It also will eventually, at some point, reduce what the cost is to produce that type of content, which for many universities, especially the smaller ones, they just can't tell as rich of a story without a significant investment. And as the kind of floor comes down on that, I think that we're going to see a lot of really interesting content out there that represents what it actually feels like to be a student at the university.
Where I get really excited is the fact that, to add on to what you just said, AI will also allow us to send the right message to the right person about those things, right, at the right time. And when we have these small marketing teams that are wearing so many different hats, you touched on this, how can they be an expert in everything that they are required to do, from content writing to strategic campaign planning to analyzing data? I mean, it's really challenging, especially if you've only got 2 or 3 people on your team. So the ability to kind of scale that right information to the right people, I think, is one of the use cases, or one of the benefits, I'd say, of AI that I'm most excited about.
Yeah, we've definitely seen advances in that on the CRM side, but it still is felt out of reach for a lot of universities. particularly the smaller teams, because you still have to go in and set up the content that might be personalized, right? We've been talking about what website personalization looks like in this space for maybe 10 years. And the barrier there has really been on like, how are you going to get that content set up and build the models that then can be personalized? Whereas we're now reducing that barrier and it'll be much more accessible for everyone, which I think gets exciting because the AI technology will also then be able to really show or tell who is a lead, right? It'll be more predictive in terms of knowing what those users are doing on your site and knowing whether or not they're going to be someone that can convert, and you can really then begin to focus your time in the right places to recruit the right type of students.
Excellent. Well, Bob, as we close this out, if you had to make one prediction about the future role of the website in an AI-powered world, what would you have to say?
I think it continues to play a larger role than it does right now. I mean, I think we always talk about the central role that the university website plays as the hardest working marketing vehicle. But I actually think that this gives it more power, and where there's been a lot of investment in channels outside of the .edu, non-organic type ones, this brings some relevancy and some power back to the .edu itself as a place that is powerful and is the source of where original messaging will come from, and where any audience who's looking to engage with the university will be able to find what it is that they're looking for and feel like they're leaving with something more than just information, that they're leaving with having had a real experience there.
Fantastic. Well, if you can hear it behind me, folks, the energy is starting to rise. AMA and the opening reception is just around the corner. So, Bob, I so appreciate you taking some time out of what is for sure going to be a very busy few days here in Vegas to sit down, have this conversation on Enrollify. If folks are looking to connect with you after they listen to this episode, where can they find you?
Sure. Probably the best place to find me these days is on LinkedIn. And yeah, thanks so much for inviting me to be here. This has been a lot of fun.
All right, friends, we will be coming at you with a bunch of recordings live at AMA across the entire Enrollify network, not just on the Pulse. So make sure that you are subscribed or tuning in to AI for You, Lessons in Leadership, and more of our really great shows to hear all about what is happening at this conference this week in Vegas. Thanks so much for listening, and we'll catch you next time. The Higher Ed Pulse is part of the Enrollify Podcast Network. If you like this podcast, chances are you'll like other Enrollify shows too. Our podcast network is growing by the month, and we've got a plethora of marketing, enrollment, and higher ed technology shows that are jam-packed with stories, ideas, and frameworks, all designed to empower you to be a better higher ed professional. Our show helps higher ed marketers and admission pros find their next big idea and features a selection of the industry's best as your hosts. Learn from Brian Gross, Eddie Francis, Jenny Lee Fowler, and so many of your favorite leaders in higher ed. Enrollify is made possible by Element 451, the next generation AI student engagement platform, helping institutions create meaningful and personalized interactions with students. Learn more at element451.com.